Hello board game brothers and sisters, I'm Adam Singer and welcome to another episode where I'll be letting you know if Kickstarter is launching this week. We do this every week, so if you find this content helpful or if you just appreciate the work that goes into it, definitely give it a like and subscribe because it helps other gamers find this content. I don't have too much to say in this intro, so let's get into the Kickstarters. And the first campaign we have launches on September 21st and it's called Myth and Goal, and this plays 1 to 2 players and takes about 45 to 60 minutes to play. And this is a high fantasy football miniatures game inspired by American football. And the designer of this game actually has quite a bit of experience with the genre because he is one of the designers that also created the game Blood Bowl, which is probably the most well-known game with a football theme. This one looks like it's going to be a little bit more simplified than Blood Bowl, making it a little bit more streamlined and fast-paced. So if you're looking for something that's a little bit more accessible, this might be a really good option. The game's main mechanisms are dice rolling, grid movement, and card play, and the game's going to offer a few different teams based around the different races that you'll find in a fantasy world. So you'll see teams that are made up of dwarves, elves, or even orcs. And each team's going to play a little bit differently. You can see at the bottom of the cards here, each player actually has their own special ability, and these are going to be themed to the different races that you might be playing as. The game also offers tactic cards that are going to allow players to perform special actions triggered by in-game events. And then there's also focus cards that players can gain that will unlock some special abilities that are agnostic to whatever type of team that you're playing. Each character is double-sided, so when you use their special ability, it's going to become exhausted for a portion of the game. Although the teams come pre-made, the game also offers free agent rules that allow players to mix and match and create custom teams however they like. And then there's also league rules provided so players can grow and develop their team over a series of games. And if you want to play this on your own or just practice up for your next tournament, this game does offer a solo mode. As always, I have links to all these campaigns in the description below if you want to find out more or just follow along with these campaigns. Also on the 21st, we have Artisans of Splendent Vale, and this plays 2 to 4 players, and they don't have a time here, but this is a campaign game, so I'm guessing it'll play in about 1 to 2 hour sessions over the period of the entire campaign. And this is a cooperative, narrative-driven adventure game, but it's also our Discord pick of the week. And I'm not surprised because this is coming from a very established designer, Nikki Valens, who also helped design a ton of other great games, including Mansions of Madness, Arkham Horror, and Legacy of Dragonholt. Not only that, but this game is also offering some very fantastic and unique artwork as well. And in this game, a meteor has crashed into a magical land, creating plants and wildlife that began to grow and prosper. Many cultures grew from this and began to form their own farming and mining colonies that were rich with resources. Over time, the people of these colonies began to communicate and share knowledge and cooperate together, founding townships. Over the centuries, the society has grown, and using materials found in fallen meteors, they began to propel themselves through an industrial revolution. And in this game, players are aspiring artisans of this society with ambitions to go out into the world and explore what new opportunities await for them. Players will be honing in on their individual skills as they explore the main story arc, which is filled with a number of events, characters, and threats. There's also a few interludes along the way as players take some time to explore their own story arcs that will interweave with the main story, and the decisions that players make are going to affect the way that the game progresses. The game presents the map to players with this handy book, along with some details of how to set up the different scenarios. If narrative-driven games are a favorite of yours, I think this image really gives you an idea of how much of a focal point that's going to be in the game. And just to give you a little idea of what to expect in terms of content, here is a picture of the box using Naveen for scale from Before You Play. The past few weeks has offered quite a few options for really great campaign games, but I think this one's really standing out with its heavy focus on the narrative aspect of the game, and I think this one would be a really great option to play with younger members of the family as well. If that sounds interesting to you, definitely check out the links in the description below. Also on the 21st, we have the Stuff of Legend, and this plays 3 to 6 players and takes about 60 to 120 minutes to play. And there's a couple things I want to touch on here. This game is based on the New York Times best-selling novel with the same name, and the designer here actually has quite a history. He's had his hand in some really great games, including Arkham Horror, Descent, and my favorite game, Cosmic Encounter. And this game takes place back in 1944, where a young boy gets taken to the realm of the dark by the boogeyman, and some of his toys get brought in there with him, and the toys find themselves coming to life. Players are going to be taking on the roles of these individual toys with their own special abilities, trying to stop the boogeyman before he can escape with the boy. Players are going to be exploring the strange world, encountering different friends and foes along the way, and different areas of the world are going to present some different opportunities and tasks that players can complete. The players that do complete them are going to be presented with a a little bit of information that will direct them in the right direction. But along the way, players will also encounter some bitter and forgotten toys from the boys' past, which will challenge alliances and cause betrayal amongst your own ranks. Allegiances can change throughout the game, and at any point, one of your fellow players could be working against you for the boogeyman. Loyal toys win if they correctly identify the exit that the boogeyman took the boy through, but the traitor wins if they choose the wrong exit. And if you're interested in this one, definitely go ahead and check out Mark Street's video over at the Dice Tower, because he put together a really great preview that sums up the game all in about 10 minutes. Also on the 21st, we have The Light in the Mist, and this is a puzzle game for 1 to 4 players that offers over 5 hours of gameplay, but you don't have to play it all in one sitting. And this is a game by Post Curious that's released a couple very notable puzzle games in the past that have both had some really great ratings. But this one's going to be quite a bit different because it's driven through the use of a tarot deck, but it's also going to have a large focus on the artwork and the story along the way. This can be played solo or cooperatively, and in this game, your friend has went missing, and in your search to recover them, you actually discover an unusual item. This leads you to embark on a journey through time and memory. Throughout the game, players are going to be manipulating cards, finding hidden messages, and solving logic and word puzzles. The tarot deck has 2 suits. There's going to be minor arcana cards and major arcana cards. The major arcana cards each represent a puzzle, and players are going to be choosing those one by one and deciding which ones that they want to solve. When players have made that decision, they're going to be matching the icons on that card with the icons of all the minor arcana cards. All these cards together are going to provide clues for players to solve a puzzle from the story booklet. Some of these puzzles and stories can grant items which can be used later to unlock extra scenes in the game, and some puzzles have multiple answers to them, which is a really neat way to add variability if you want to play this again in the future. Everything you need to solve the puzzles is included in the game, and all the puzzles are modular, which makes it very easy to pause the game and continue it at a later time. Also on the 21st, we have Quests and Cannons, The Risen Islands, and this plays 1 to 6 players and takes about 20 to 120 minutes to play. And this is a game that's been designed to be accessible, which means that it's going to be very easy to learn and play. And in this game, players are pirate crews in a high fantasy world. And this game is a competitive game where players can play as a free-for-all, or you can play as individual teams against each other. And in this game, players are going to be exploring a modular map, exploring different islands, and finding different opportunities to score victory points. On a player's turn, they're going to be spending action points to move, gather, and attack, and players are going to be using those actions to explore the different island and water tiles, and flip tokens to find clues and quests to gain victory points, and gain resources and loot to upgrade their ship. The game offers some very nice table presence with some great artwork and a modular board, as well as a very handy shipboard for each player. Players will be gaining victory points for finding and solving the clues that they discover on the map, completing quests from the different settlers that they find on the islands, and by trading cannon fire with their opponent players. The end of the game is triggered when a player reaches a certain amount of victory points, and the player with the most victory points at the end of that round wins the game. Also on September 21st, we have the River and Stone playing cards. And I know this isn't exactly a board game, but before you go and skip ahead, I just want to mention that this one is my pick of the week. And for those of you that do follow along with my channel, you know that my picks of the week often have a particular reason, and I do have a particular reason for this one. And that reason is that this campaign is actually a solo project by Beth Sobel. And if you don't know Beth Sobel, she's a very prominent artist in the board game space. And just to be frank here, I do like to see different artists show up in the board game hobby. Board games is really a great platform for these up-and-coming artists to have an opportunity to make their work known. And I really love to see the diversity that the different artists and their styles bring to our individual collections. And you can see this with other art forms as well. I've been to so many pubs and bars where there's been bands or musicians that just blew me away, but are getting little to no exposure outside of a very small community. But also with musicians, there's those that have made such a profound impact on the industry, like Jimi Hendrix, Dave Grohl, Jimmy Page, or the Daft Punk. And those musicians, along with many others, have paved the landscape that we see today and provided a lot of inspiration to all those up-and-coming musicians that you've found in your local pubs and bars. And aside from their great talent in music, that's just one of the reasons that we respect those musicians so much. And Beth Sobel is an artist that I have that respect for. She's had a massive impact on the board game space, and she's helped set a bar to prove that board games can not only be a board game, but quite literally a work of art. And I think it's thanks to artists like Beth Sobel that art is being taken so seriously in the board game space, which I think we all appreciate. And this campaign is a simple way for her to personally share her artwork and style with the community. And this deck of cards is inspired by the Pacific Northwest, and each suit is going to represent a different terrain and animal that resides there. The spades have a sky theme, the diamonds have a forest theme, the clubs have a mountain theme, and the hearts have an ocean theme. And the respective animals for each of those suits is the raven, the fox, the pika, and the jellyfish. And rather than going a traditional route with your jack, queen, and king, Beth Sobel decided to portray that a little bit differently by showing a single person for each suit and portraying a progression of the different phases of their life across the 3 cards. So if you're interested on a unique take on your traditional deck of cards with some beautiful artwork from an artist that's made such a profound impact on the board games you know and love, this is definitely one worth considering, and don't forget you can click that Notify Me button to get notified on launch. Also on the 21st we have Cranky Chinchillas, and this plays 4 to 6 players. It takes about 30 to 60 minutes to play. And this is a deduction game where players will be forming different alliances and betraying one another as they try to complete objectives in order to win the game. Players start the game divided into different teams, and they each have their own individual objectives. I think the different objectives here work a little bit similar to Bang, where everyone has their own individual role to play on the team, but they also have their own individual win conditions. But a really neat twist here that's going to make this one different from other deduction games is that each player is actually going to be starting with their own party of heroes, and the heroes are also going to represent your life points, so you're going to want to protect them if you don't want to get eliminated from the game. Players are first going to want to determine who is and isn't on their team, and then they're going to want to take advantage of their different action cards and player powers to try and defend themselves while trying to get rid of their enemies. And the team or person that reaches their victory condition first wins the game. Also on the 21st we have Power62 DELTA, and this plays 2 to 6 players and takes about 30 to 90 minutes to play. And this is a game that iterates on the game of chess. The designers actually started with chess as the foundation of their design, and then they iterated on it and gave it a sci-fi theme and turned it into something completely different. Instead of traditional movement actions, players will have to use movement cards in order to move their different pieces around on the board, and then players are going to be taking advantage of different power cards to attack and defend their characters. The board also features different obstacles like black holes and different terrain that will get in the player's way, and of course introducing cards to the game of chess does introduce a little bit of a luck of the draw. So this isn't a complete strategy game like chess is, but this isn't intended to play identically to chess. Instead, it's going to introduce some different challenges that will contend with your different strategies. And on September 23rd, we have a board game adjacent campaign on GameFound for Legendary Dice Bags Season 2. And this is going to be offering premium dice bags. And this is going to come in 2 different sizes. There's the Legendary Dice Bag, the regular size, which is 15 by 12 centimeters. And if you're using the Imperial system, that's about 23 3/16 unpopped corn kernels. And the extra large version is about 18.7 by 15 millimeters, or for all my American viewers out there, that's about 0 7/64 left arms. The bag offers 2 layers of microfiber fabric with velvet lining, double-sided art from famous artists, and satin pull strings. The regular bag holds more than 60 regular dice or 120 metal coins, or using the Imperial system, that's about 97 breaths of fresh air. I'm rounding. The artwork offers a ton of different themes for your various games or game sessions, and my absolute favorite is somewhere down here on the bottom, and it is called the Inn Brawl. Ooh! Ah! If you're interested in this one, definitely follow along with it because it'll get you an additional dice set with your bag. And although there aren't any details on that right now, a free dice set is a really nice bonus. Also on the 23rd, we have Tiles of the Arabian Nights, and this plays 2 to 5 players and takes about 20 to 60 minutes to play. And this game is half board game, half storytelling. Players are on a quest to tell the greatest story, but in order to do that, you're going to need a little bit of inspiration. So players are going to head out into the desert in search of adventure and the many trials it brings. On a player's turn, they're going to be moving their character across the main board and meeting different colorful characters across the desert, discovering hidden treasures, and defeating fearsome foes. Each new discovery earns you an adventure tile, and there's over 120 different tiles, over 12 different types, all with unique and inspirational artwork to help you tell your story. Players can choose to keep that tile to score points, or they can use it in their final tale, or instead they could choose to sell it and get some money instead. Players each start the game with their own unique objective that's showing the types of tiles that they need in order to complete their story. Once those tiles are achieved, players are going to return to tell their story, but exactly what that story is going to be up to the players. You're going to be using the different tiles you collected and using the images and inspiration you get from them to piece together a story. Each tale will earn you points from the Sultan as well as the other players, and the player with the most points at the end of the game wins the game. And don't forget to also follow along with this campaign if it interests you, because it'll get you a wooden token set added to your pledge. And that's all I have this week, but don't leave yet because we have a couple awesome giveaways to announce, and they're super easy to enter. And the first one is for 11, the Football Manager board game. And I didn't actually notice this last week. I assumed this was American football, but now that I see this ball here, this is actually something that us North Americans call soccer. Oder Fußball auf Deutsch sprechen. You're going to be managing different things like your finances, your social media, your public image, along with upgrading your stadium and dealing with different events and stories that happen along the way. Players will also be planning for different tournaments and games, and to prepare for those games, they're going to be setting up different strategies depending on the different abilities that their players have. And the better that you do that, the better odds you have of winning a game. And this giveaway is going to be for the 11 base game pledge, which comes with the core game and all unlocked stretch goals. And to enter this giveaway, just leave a comment down below with the hashtag 11 and let us know what your favorite sport is. For me, I actually used to play a lot of soccer, and then as I got older, I got more into the extreme sports like dirt biking, skateboarding, and mountain biking, until I discovered that I injure myself a lot doing those things. And maybe that's part of the reason that I choose to play board games now, because the injuries I have there are just emotional. And the next giveaway we have is for a trick-taking game known as Bridge City Poker. And this is actually a very interesting trick-taking game. It kind of takes the genre and flips it on its head, because in this game you're trying to get rid of all your cards, whereas with most trick-taking games you're trying to collect tricks. And the way that this game works, and the reason that it has poker in the name, is that you can actually play sets of cards as your tricks. So if you have a pair of cards, or if you have a sequence of cards, sort of like a straight in poker, you can lay all those down as a single trick. And then the next player is going to try and match your same sequence or pair of cards, but try and play higher cards in order to continue around the circle. If no one else can beat your set of cards, then you win the trick, and all the other players have to draw a card from the deck, adding to their hand. The game also offers a bunch of different ability cards that will offer you different ways to get rid of your cards and offer different opportunities throughout the game. The game ends when either someone has shed all their cards or when the main deck is completely depleted. At that point, the player with the fewest points wins the game. And this giveaway is going to be for the base pledge, which comes with the core game and 2 Kickstarter exclusive power cards. And to enter this giveaway, just leave a comment down below with the hashtag poker and let us know how much you're willing to put down on a casual poker night. For me, 20 bucks is the magic number. It's enough that you have some skin in the game, and it makes the prize very rewarding. But I'm definitely someone who can't imagine playing poker without a little bit of cash on the line. For me, that's what makes it fun. And paying 20 bucks for a fun night is a pretty great alternative to most other things like going to a bar or restaurant. And now let's go ahead and draw the winners for last week's giveaway, and I'll draw these in the reverse order to how I announced them last week. And the first one is for the spill, and to draw a winner, I use this fancy application here. All these extra names down here are bonus entries for my Patreon subscribers. If you like this sort of content, you want to help out the channel, definitely check that out, and it gets you some extra entries into these giveaways. So let's go ahead and draw those comments and draw a winner. Dang, that's a lot of comments. And the winner is Simon Hoare, one of our Patreon subscribers, and I think this is actually one of our newer patrons, so congratulations on the beginner's luck here. And the next giveaway we had was for Solar Sphere, so let's draw those comments and draw a winner. Okay, these comments are taking forever. I'm just going to draw all of them ahead of time. All right, and the winner is Chad X 69. And I'd ask viewers to let us know what they would name their star mining company, and Chad says that he would name his Power to You. Now let's go ahead and draw for Green Hell, the board game, and I've already drawn the comments here, so let's draw a winner. And the winner is Eric Danielson, and this is another new patron, and I don't know what's happening today, but welcome to the team. And the last giveaway we had was for Dungeons of Infinity, so let's go ahead and draw a winner. And the winner is Justin Clyburn. And I guess that's only fitting with the way that these giveaways are going today. Congratulations, Justin, our original Insta winner on the Patreon. If you're one of the winners, just email me at adam@shelfclutter.com, and all I need is your name, an email, and a shipping address. And that's everything we have this week. I know there has been quite a lot of drama in the board game space. It seems like every month there's something new. And I'm not saying that my way is the right way or the only way, but the way that I tend to approach these things whenever they happen is that I try to remind myself that people are who they are because of the life that they were born into. People do end up making their own choices in life, but the choices that they do make are largely dependent on their history, and a lot of that is not in their control. I'm not saying that people shouldn't be punished or held accountable to their actions, but the way that I see it is that should really be the last resort. And for example, putting someone in jail is just an unfortunate reality when someone becomes such a menace to society that they can't be involved in a safe way. But there's a lot of nuance in our day-to-day interactions, and especially with so much of it being online these days, you don't really know the people you're talking to. And I think most people would agree that if you truly care about a cause and you care about making a positive impact on society, it's always better to try and educate that person rather than chastise them. And a kind of weird but effective way to do that is to try and imagine that person as a child. And if a child does something wrong or even says something offensive, your first instinct isn't to chastise or label them. It's normally to try and educate them and try and correct the behavior. And you try to teach them why the thing that they did was not a good thing to do. And whether it's a child or an adult, I know it's definitely not an easy task to try and correct behavior, and most of the time it shouldn't even be your responsibility to try and do that for them. And there's a good chance that you might not even see any results from your efforts if you do try. But people do change all the time, and I believe that most people want to be good, and empathizing with them and understanding that the lesson that they needed to learn was just never taught to them in a way that they understood is probably more or less the reason why they're acting the way they are. And if you disagree with me, I challenge you to think back in your own life where your perspective has changed, and maybe you have some regrets in the way that you treated someone, or a perspective that you might have had in the past and how different your perspective is today. I know for myself, I'm a completely different person than I was 5 years ago, and I'm even more different than I was 5 years before that. And just speaking for myself, there's a ton of different people in my life who have taught me different lessons throughout the years. Many of those lessons I still carry very close to me today. And if I didn't have those people and their patience and their way of explaining things in a way that I understood, I definitely wouldn't be the same person that I am now, for better or worse. But I'll leave my philosophy at that for now, and if you agree or disagree, or if you'd like to share your perspective, definitely leave a comment down below. I do read all the comments, and I try to respond to as many as I can. And if it's one thing I've learned from how much I've changed over the years, it's that there's always more to learn. But until next time, keep that shelf cluttered and the table full.